The rocket set to take Jeff Bezos and his 3 crewmates to the edge of space tomorrow has been cleared for takeoff. Engineers tentatively gave the New Shepard the okay yesterday as Bezos and crew finished a 2-day astronaut training course. Our Doug Dunbar is there in Van Horn in the deserts of West Texas, close to where that rocket will take off tomorrow. So Doug, what is the energy there like in the bustling metropolis of Van Horn?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Robbie. Van Horn is a very small enclave of just 2,000 residents. Blue Origin has been here for quite a long time. 15, 16 years. I just, in fact, was talking to the sheriff of Culberson County here just a little bit ago, and he says they've been a great partner, a great neighbor. But when you talk about energy and buzz, it's to a degree business as usual, because Blue Origin is just up Highway 54 here, about 20 miles. They've got this gigantic few 100,000 acres of land parcel where they do their business. Van Horn is here. They work together. A lot of folks from Van Horn work at the Blue Origin site in various degrees and various jobs. But when you talk about energy and everything, it's almost like he said it's kind of like an ordinary day in a week. The only difference, Robbie, is that for the last 10, 15 years or so, as they got closer and closer and then did test launches, which everybody in town here can see a test launch. You can just look up from your day job in Van Horn and look and go, oh, hey, the rocket's going up again. So it's kind of ordinary for them. The biggest difference now is that this one is advertised, and they have talked about it now for well over 2 weeks, when Jeff Bezos obviously announced Wallie Funk, our local hero in North Texas. And this is the first time, because usually all the test launches, they do it on the down low. They don't talk about it too much. All of a sudden, they'll hear a noise and they'll look up. Oh, they must be testing a rocket. So that's kind of the vibe right now. And the other part of it, Robbie, is we're all wondering, space watchers, are they going to be here? Will there be 10? Will there be 100? Will there be 1,000? The short answer is, I don't know. Nobody in the media knows. Sheriff doesn't know. Nobody at the restaurant last night knew, because, again, they've done everything so quietly for so long, they've never really had to deal with it. So tomorrow morning, whatever we expect on crowds at the moment is kind of an X factor. We don't know.
But I would imagine lots of journalists such as yourself headed to that area right now. And as you said, they're not accustomed to all of that attention. And I think they're probably about to get a lot more than they bargained for.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's funny, as we rolled up literally to plant our stick right here and to talk to you for this moment, the media that are being allowed inside the Blue Origin property had to rally at a point in Van Horn this morning, and it was a caravan of probably, I would say, 60 to 70 vehicles. And we stopped on the main drag and let them go, being a kind driver, right? And the next thing you know, it's like vehicle 40, vehicle 50. It's like we should have kept going, but we waited and did the right thing. But yeah, so definitely right now, I can't say that the media outpopulates the town, but we sure have added to it. Hotel rooms are gone. You can't get one anymore. A lot of that, candidly, is the media, because the world's media is here, not only the United States and in our big networks, obviously, but there's international media here as well for what's happening.
And I know, Doug, this is a big news story, but personally, you've been known to have your head in the clouds one way or the other for a while now. How personally excited are you to get to be able to cover this and just to be there for this?
Well, let me say this to you, right? So I've been flying airplanes for a long time. I'm just a regular general aviation pilot. I'm no professional. But the sheriff and I and my photojournalist, Billy Sexton, who's standing actually behind the camera that we're talking on, we had this conversation about 5 or 10 minutes ago, and we think about history and aviation and flight and space travel. Think about this, and Robbie, you can relate to this just as somebody who has watched over the last few decades. We all watched the Mercury programs and the NASA programs of the 60s and the 70s on into the space shuttle, which was so amazing when wait a second, you're going to bring a shuttle in, it doesn't have any engines, and you're going to glide it, and you're going to land on that runway in Florida, and it's all going to work. And it did, right? So now we've arrived at this advent of space travel where not only is the tourism part of it, I think a big reality at this point. Branson proved it a week and a half ago, obviously. Bezos is hoping to prove it tomorrow. But now we've arrived at this fascination moment to me where you cannot disregard how cool it is that they're going to take a rocket tomorrow with a capsule on top. They're going to shoot the rocket up. It's going to go up. It's going to spit the capsule out, basically, in the most basic of vernacular. And then that rocket's going to come backwards all the way back down and land pinpoint on a spot already designated, and they can reuse that rocket. That's off the charts for space possibilities. Elon Musk obviously has already proven it. He's landed his giant rockets on drone ships with nobody on board them in the middle of the ocean after launching crews into space. I just think in today's day and age, all of us, our generation right now, we're living kind of the new age of what people must have felt like when we went from horse and buggy to people driving around in automobiles. What's happening today in terms of travel and space and this opportunity for space tourism, to me, is fascinating.
Well, Doug, you can't talk about aviation history without talking about North Texas's Wallie Funk. I think even if you didn't know her until the last few weeks, you like her, and you just I am so impressed by what she has done and the fact that she's going to get to go. I know you visited with her. Great story. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I visited with Wallie as a friend. Let's be clear about that. Did not interview her prior to, because she was asked not to do any public interviews, and we respected that. But as a friend, visited her on a few occasions over the last week and a half after Jeff Bezos had come to her house. Robbie, this, we can talk for a while, so bear with me. This is a woman who is an aviation legend. Through her career, she has held every single license that the FAA has issued for piloting, from balloons to gliders to airplanes to instrument rating, commercial rating, ATP. I could go on and on. She's held all of that. That is amazing in and of itself. But if we rewind in history, we go back to the 60s. In 1961, she entered into the Mercury program as a woman. Let's be very clear, early 1960s, late 60s. Women weren't really invited to be part and become an astronaut. That we knew probably was not going to be the ultimate end game, but they did it as an experiment. And what happened is everything narrowed down to these 13 women in the NASA program that basically went through a parallel Mercury program just like the guys. And they all got through it, but the very cool thing for Wallie Funk is, at the end of it all, she not only outscored, and I'm talking about physical, mental preparation, simulator experience, you combine all of that, she outscored all the women, her counterparts, the other dozen who were with her. They made up the Mercury 13. And then she also outscored the men as well. And I'm talking big names back in that day, obviously, right? So for Wallie Funk, full circle history at 82 years of age, here she is now in the precipice of doing what she dreamed about as a 21-year-old when she began in this program. And here's what's really cool, and we got another half hour to talk about Wallie, so bear with me. So here's what's and when I say that, I'm going to grab a drink of water, to be honest with you, because
well, Doug,
it's dry here in West Texas.
I'll let you grab a drink of water, because what I really want to know is that, like, really, for real, truly, Jeff Bezos just showed up unannounced and knocked at the door. I mean, that story alone is that you just got to love the way he did that.
Yeah. So I sat on Wallie's living room floor last week, and she told me this, Robbie, and I was shocked by it, because I asked her, I said, Wallie, did you sign up along the way? Was there some kind of secret sign up you didn't share with everybody? And I completely understand if you did, or did you put your name in the hat? And she said nothing. Didn't do a thing. So we're all wondering, well, how did this happen? How did Jeff Bezos pick her? I'm hoping we get a chance to ask that question, because we'd all love an answer to it, obviously, other than maybe he just knew, as people who are into aviation and flight and space, maybe he already knew her name. Maybe it's as simple as that. But as she would tell the story to me, he knocks on the door, she opens it, oh my gosh! What is this? Because there's a camera crew behind him. She doesn't know who he is right away when the door opens. Like, who are you? Well, Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin. We saw the Instagram moment, obviously. And then she's got this camera crew and everything, and they come in and it all happens. And as she tells me, she's completely beside herself, stunned that the richest man in the world, worth some $200 billion, knocked on her little door in Grapevine, Texas, and opened it and said, I want to take you to space. How crazy good is that?
Yes, definitely. Not that he didn't send, somebody else to reach out to her, but that he just knocked on the door. And that hug she gave him in the Instagram post that she shared. I mean, even if you are not a space fan, that's a humanity moment,
Yeah. Wally's a hugger. Wally hugs everybody. She goes to church at White's Chapel in South Lake, and she is infamous at the church, Robbie, for on Sundays she will come marching right into the pastor's robing room. She doesn't care what's going on. She walks in, and all the parishioners tell me she starts services every Sunday in the pastor's robing room, giving all the pastors a hug and everybody who's in there a hug to kind of get things started at Sunday services. That's who she is.
Well, I know that church is super excited. I know they planned a big send-off for her. What are they doing when the launch happens?
So White's Chapel Church specifically, I know, and I'm sure there might be some other watch parties around town, but they're doing a watch party. They're going to do it at the church. My guess is probably in a big meeting room, and they're going to have the television up, and hopefully on CBS 11, obviously, for our live coverage with the network tomorrow morning. And they plan a whole bunch of people are going to be there tomorrow morning.
So one more Jeff Bezos story. I understand when he knocked on the door, what else happened with that interaction with Wallie, other than, of course, her giving him that wonderful, infamous now hug?
Well, I will tell you the innocence of what I will tell you is what really strikes me about this, and that is Bezos comes in. The whole moment of the Instagram post that we saw, all of that unfolds, and then things kind of simmer down, and everything's finished, and you're going to space, and the technical crew's there with Mr. Bezos, and then he said to Wallie, and think how nice this is. Here's the richest guy in the world saying, "Hey, I'd like to take you to lunch." And he says, what is your favorite place? I'd love to take you to your favorite place. Well, Wallie loves Pancake House. That's her jam. She loves Pancake House. So she says to Jeff, she says, I'd love to go to Pancake House. It was okay. And then I think what either happened, I think they made a phone call. Somebody made a call, say, hey, can we get a party of whatever, And they said, well, we're closing at 2 o'clock. And I think we were butting right up against the 2 o'clock hour. So Jeff said back to Wallie, and this is kind of the way she described it to me. She says, he said back, while they're closing, could I suggest Saltgrass, which is kind of the steak restaurant, right? And then Wallie leans back into Jeff quietly because she doesn't want everybody else in the room to hear. And she says, Jeff, Saltgrass is expensive. And you have 5 people. You know that, right? It's expensive.
Oh, I love it.
I was already sitting on her living room floor when she told me. At that point, I just sprawled out, started laughing my head off.
I think that was the picture I saw. I think that was the picture I saw where you were stretched out on the floor. Is that what sent you to the floor? She is, of course, just an amazing person. A groundbreaker doesn't even cover it. And then to find that she is so humble and down to earth, it just makes you root for them and this mission even more. I know she's going to be the oldest person in space. Who else is going to be along with Bezos for this ride?
Well, we know Bezos has chosen to go, obviously, which is kind of a big choice. I mean, it's his company. He runs it, obviously. And the sobering part of all of this is there is risk. It's travel with a rocket to the edge of space. I mean, there's zero doubt that there is risk, but they believe they've minimized it. So Bezos, his lifelong best friend, who happens to be his brother Mark, you've probably maybe by now seen in an interview or two because he's come out and started talking a little bit. So the two of them, and then there's the other end of the spectrum from Wallie Funk, and that is Oliver Damon, who is the 18-year-old from Denmark. He is a young man who has a passion for aviation, seems fairly well educated on the aviation side of things and space travel. And as the story goes, apparently his father was a bidder, but what we don't know is, was his father's bid the winning bid that got him? Because, as we've heard by now, he gets to go because the person who actually won and bid $28 million to go tomorrow has a scheduling conflict. So, what's the backstory behind there? I don't know, and does it really matter at this point? Probably not, and we'll find out. But you got the oldest astronaut who will ever become an astronaut and the youngest, bookending the spectrum for what is going to hopefully be one incredibly extraordinary and special day tomorrow.
Doug, last question. I know you're somewhere there in the middle. If you had the opportunity, would you go?
I would go in a heartbeat. I've actually asked my wife and my children. They understand my passion for all things aviation, all things flight. And listen, I have no more real technical knowledge than anybody else about safety and all of that regarding it. But, with the risk having been brought way down. They've had proof of concept, obviously, time and time again, to be able to go up and to, even for just 4 minutes, which is about what they're going to do tomorrow, of weightlessness, to experience what so few people on this planet have experienced, to gaze out of the window and to be able to see the curvature of the earth and experience it, I'd go in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. All right, well, this time, Dunbar, you're going to have to watch from Van Horn, but maybe next time. I'll put in a word with Bezos for you, all right?
Please do, please do.
All right, thank you for making time for us this morning, Doug. Good chat. And we invite you to stay with CBS 11 for full coverage of the Blue Origin space launch. Doug, of course, will join us live from Van Horn right here tomorrow morning at 6:30 when Blue Origin also begins its live coverage. Again, blast off is scheduled for 8 a.m. tomorrow, and Doug will be doing the play-by-play.